basically, content repurposing is about when you create this awesome piece of content. Now, do not let it go to waste by hoping that somebody will find it, or by you sharing a post on social media. Hey, my new podcast episode is out, or hey, check out my new blog post. Because we all know, these posts disappear within minutes and hours on
Instantly.
social media platforms.
Yeah.
On Twitter, it's like, I don't know, 8 minutes, 8 seconds, something like that.
Oh, it's gone. So it's gone before you even sent it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's disappeared into the ether. Nobody's even going to know. Nobody's even going to know that you just published a new blog post. So the whole idea of repurposing content is that we now need to promote that amazing piece of content you've created, right? So by promotion, I mean that you now need to create an experience on social media for people to now come and consume your content. And that's where repurposing comes in. We take your long piece of content and create experiential content out of it, which becomes sort of your a starter of brand awareness on social media platforms. So you can repurpose that content into short form videos. You can take quotations out of it. You can take tweets out of it. The whole idea is that this is, obviously we're talking about the early stage cold audience we're trying to target, trying to expand our reach. We create brand awareness content, right? So repurposing at that point in customer cycle is used for brand awareness. Of course, you can repurpose content for the entire buyer cycle, right? Wow. So for example, somebody who is already aware of your brand, maybe sharing a repurposed case study of your business is the right piece of content to share with them, right? Because they don't need to know about your short videos or tweet you're talking about. They're already aware of your business. They need to know something more. So you can repurpose content for each phase in your buyer's cycle. Even post client, once they become your client, now what kind of content you can share with them. Often you're already sitting on a content. You don't have to produce new type of content. You just repurpose from your original content something that has worked, for example, a previous client, and now that's something you think that maybe the other clients can benefit from as well. That's a piece of content you can now share with your existing clients. So basically, a content which can be repurposed for the entire buyer cycle is the philosophy behind repurposing content.
Got it. So we're spending less time. Again, back to that 20% now we're spending on content creation. I think a lot of time gets taken up in the creation side, doing the research, right? Doing the hard part of like gathering what the actual right thing to do is, getting the experts' time, or researching. Like there's so much prep that goes into these articles. You actually go to write it, maybe it took you a little bit of time, maybe a little time to proofread or grammar, or maybe a little bit of production time, but really the hard work is always getting the information. So this makes total sense. Instead of like starting from scratch every time, the content you created, if it's good, it's good. Like people still need to hear that. Just because it's already gone past them on Twitter, they still need to hear different versions of that. And maybe some people like written words, and some people like video, and some people like audio. So to your point, that one little gem you might have can turn into, 9 other things at least?
Yeah, absolutely. Or we can turn it into 30 pieces of content, but there you go. It's one piece of content easily into 30 pieces of content.
Okay, can we play a game?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so can we start with a blog post? Blog post?
Yeah.
No, maybe it's an interview, podcast interview. I don't know. Pick your initial content, whatever kind of initial content you want, and then let's try to ramble off.
It's a video interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
Video interview, and then maybe, and I won't try to write them all down because that'll hold you up. Maybe you could just sort of like rattle off as many, and I'll try to keep track, as many different ways you can repurpose that video interview. And you don't have to rush. It's not timed, so you can take your time.
Well, I like to start off with video, or I tell clients that if it's something that they're comfortable with being on video, then start off with video. So, with video long pillar content, first thing you can do is obviously extract audio from it. So now you've got a video interview, and now you've got a audio as well, which you can then share it as a podcast on audio channels. Video can go on YouTube. Then you can create short video clips for social media, because as you know, on social media, nobody goes on to watch a 60-minute video, right? In fact, research is done to show that the videos or the content which gets consumed most is under 2-minute video clips for most of the social media platforms.
Got it.
Different for YouTube, because that's a long form content channel.
Right.
But so short form video clips, now video clips in different formats as well. So you first convert it into a square video, which is utilized for Facebook platforms, LinkedIn as well, can work for Instagram as well. Then you create the same piece of content in a wide format, which works for, again, Twitter or YouTube. It's great for SEO to keep putting all those short clips on YouTube as well, even if you've got your long form video content on YouTube. Okay. Then, of course, the Instagram version, the vertical version, which is amazing for Facebook stories and Instagram stories, which, as we know, are booming right now. They're doing way better than before. Instagram stories are doing better than Instagram posts. Then you can do an IGTV video. So as we know, Instagram stories are only 60 seconds long, so 1 minute. So you create a 1-minute piece for the Instagram story, and then a longer 5 to 10 minute clip for IGTV.
Okay.
Right? And then, of course, you can take several quotes out of your content. So if it's an interview, you'll probably get a lot of, gems from it. It could be your own or guest quotes. So God knows, several, quotes can come out of it. Again, those quotes can be formatted and should be formatted into square, vertical, and wide formats for different channels, because you don't just share this, like on Instagram stories, you can't share wide or square. It just would look odd. It just doesn't sit right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we've done video and audio memes, quotes. Now, from this is what I love doing, and majority of people don't do it because it takes a lot of work, is that this now long piece of video or interview can turn into a blog post as well. Now, I do not mean like a direct transcription of the video, but it does help, because you've got the transcription. All it needs a little bit of editing by the content creator, and it can turn into a long form blog post, and then you can embed the video that you recorded within your blog post as well, because that's, again, very good for SEO. YouTube loves it when you embed that video. When you have uploaded that video on YouTube, then embed it on your website. YouTube loves that juice, SEO juice. And so again, this is long form content. Now you can create a short form blog post as well, where you can write a summarized version of that. Sure. Again, you can embed a video and then direct people, if you want to read the longer version of it, link it to the longer version. Or if you prefer watching it in video format, link it to your YouTube channel where they can watch the full video. So blog posts, from one video, we can take out audio, video, blogs, text, all versions out of it, basically. Yep. And then what I often like to do is create, take the content, which, long piece of content, and take content, summarized content or valuable educational informational content out of it that can be used as part of a newsletter or email follow-up series, right? Yes. So newsletters, as we know, do not have to be very long these days. People like to consume short-form content. So a lot of information can come out of that, which can form part of your weekly newsletter that you send out, or daily email follow-up series. Lot of content can come out of that, because it helps. You don't have to now start from scratch to think about, okay, what should I say in my email today or tomorrow, because you've already got a lot of information. It's just about putting it together in the right context. You don't have to start from scratch, basically. Jeez. And of course, link it to your different assets that you have now created. Be it short form clips, or maybe your full podcast episode, or newsletter. You can always link it back to other forms of content. So basically, you're directing people to cross channel, right, from one place to another to consume different types. It's the same content in different formats, because whatever format they prefer to consume that content. Some prefer to read, some prefer to watch, some prefer to listen to content.
Wow.
So it basically, you're creating those channels for them. Stories we talked about, emails, follow-up newsletters. Oh yes. So oftentimes what I talk about, it depends on the interview structure.
Sure.
Sometimes hosts ask sort of or they add a segment to the interview which can then be repurposed as a separate segment for just their subscribers, for example.
Ooh.
So it could be, for example, everybody can watch this episode that you have recorded, right? But for those who become your subscribers or maybe leave you a rating or something, you have a special for them. There's a special segment that you recorded, which could be a quick fire with the guest. Could be anything. And the subscribers get the extra bit, which is not available in the normal interview sort of recording.
I totally got to do that. That sounds great. Yeah.
It's good for getting for making people feel special. Like everybody wants to feel special. If they do something, they become your subscriber, they want to feel special. You know, why should I do this? Right? I am special if I'm doing this. So so that works very well. Sometimes yes, interview roundup. So if you've done few interviews, so much more content can come out of it. As you know, you can do an interview roundup of, top 10 guests or by category or by subject or by experience, and then use that again as a separate blog post, separate piece of a newsletter, email follow-ups series, even a separate video clip, which encompasses all those sort of clips from those 10 interviews. So there's like so many ways that we can repurpose the same piece of content in the right context. It's not like just we're doing it for the sake of it.
Right.
It's creating that experience at each phase in the buyer cycle. If they've just become aware of it, maybe they'll read your post on LinkedIn, see your tweet, and then they move on from maybe becoming a subscriber, get a newsletter, check out your podcast, watch a video, and then so on and so forth, and eventually some case studies.
Wow, you weren't kidding. Any more? Any final? There's a lot.
I'm pretty sure there's so many more which I can't think of right now.
No worries. Wow, I would add a book to it. A lot of the inspiration from my book came from the podcast. Yeah. But that's me just adding one.
Audiobook as well.
What's that?
Audiobook as well. So
audiobook.
The written book, ebook format, and then the audiobook, which comes out of it as well. Yeah.
Jeez. So I kept count of all the different separate ways. And, I'd said 9. I believe you said 30, right?
Yeah.
And that sounded a little hard to get to. And that's why I'm glad. Thank you, by the way. If you want to drink water, because I know you just did. That was fantastic. That was amazing. Any guesses on what I got to, what I counted up to?
No.
It was about 39.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just thought book, but then you're like, but what kind of book? Audio book, Kindle, like digital book, digital download, and written book,
audiobook,
booklet, and
booklet. We haven't even covered online courses, because a lot, especially if you have really long form content in shape of a book, right? That gets converted into online courses all the time.
Really?
Yep, online courses, and then not only that, membership. Membership offer. So instead of doing an online course, you can also offer individual informational pieces, be it in video format or written format, and make them available as part of a membership. So like, for example, this is what our membership group is about. I don't know, it's $50 a month, and this is what you will get access to, because it's not something you have to now create on a daily basis. You've already got it. You're just repurposing it for your membership portal.
Right.
So, I mean, there's, so much more.
Wow. They got us up to 30, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 41. There's a lot of things you can do to repurpose.
Awesome.
You, yeah.
I haven't even talked about intro videos and promos and stuff. So.
Oh, so we got more. There's more.
So we've got more, but yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
So it's probably close to like 45 probably. So there is a lot. So in case anyone was skeptical of like, and to your point, there's so many things you can do with one piece of content. Don't go making 1,000 of them. One piece of content can turn one solid, and this was all based on a video interview, can be repurposed 41 plus times.
Yeah.
Do an interview and then repurpose it to Crazy Town. You know?
Yeah, exactly. To Crazy Town until you've squeezed all the juice out of it, and you're like, okay, now it's time to create another piece of content.
Right, and then make pie out of the rest. Like, exactly. That's amazing.
Exactly.
And that's just the content creation. And this is, would you consider this part of the 20% or part of the 80%, the repurposing?
No, so this is part of the 80% because you already created that big original piece of content that you put. So now what we're doing is creating digital assets to promote that content, because we can't just say, okay, hey, check out my new episode. Right? How many times are you going to say that on social media, right? Hey, check out the new episode. Hey, check out the new episode, right? Right? So, but there are many other ways of saying the exact same thing. And that's what we do with repurposed content. We're trying to drive the traffic to our original piece of content by repurposing the same content into different formats and different experiences. So it doesn't seem like, you know, we're sharing the same thing over and over again in our news feeds.
See, that makes total sense. I'm glad you went over that, because I was going to ask you about the idea of the experiences and the promotion of it, but this is the promotion of it. The repurposing creates follow-on items and assets, but it also promotes it, because these are videos on Instagram, or these are clips, or these are going in. You mentioned the email nurture campaigns. There's so much with that. You're right. Yeah. That becomes a promotion in it. And every time you mention one, you also mention, like, you can point back to the original. You can point back to the source. Like, if you want the long form content, here's where it is. Go get it here, as opposed to having it just live by itself. So each one of these things strengthens the whole group. So you might find it from here, and you might go watch this clip, but then you might go get the long form. You might go get the book afterward. You might go get this. So it's almost like a network effect of the more times you repurpose that one piece of content, the stronger all of the assets become around it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, with that, your impact grows, your brand grows, and, you know, the traffic also grows to your content or wherever you want them to go. And this is just organic promotion we're talking about. You can use the same piece of the short video clips. This is what we do. So we use them as part of Facebook advertising campaign. So promoting our content. So for brand awareness. And if it's videos, it's easy. We just look for video views, and it's about sharing the same repurposed content that we've now created. We just put some money behind it, promote it over Facebook, and then of course, you know, you continue the buyer cycle from there. You can give them more or more specific content, those who view the first piece of content, and take them wherever you want them to go next.
Wow. So the promotional side of it, the paid side, you know, we hadn't even discussed. That was all organic, what we were talking about earlier. So you could really get an infusion of more people and traffic and numbers into it by just promoting it on. We've talked to Alaric recently. He was the YouTube guy. You know, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, all these different ads to let people know there's maybe some content they should check out. And not necessarily gating the content and putting up walls in front of it. Just give people the stuff. Let them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So this is what you do? You repurpose content for people, or you help them sort these strategies out? That's fantastic.
We help them repurpose for whatever buyer cycle they're looking for, whichever phase in their buyer cycle they're looking for. Usually it's around the brand awareness, because they're looking to create a bigger impact. They want to expand their reach, and they're sitting on a lot of content which can then be repurposed for social media platforms, so they can slowly start growing their brand and their impact and their tribe.
Yeah, I see that. It makes sense that you can change the content approach and the different kinds of things you're doing to promote it, depending on where people are in the sales cycle. You'd mentioned the different stages before, and now I think it all makes sense because now I know the different types of content that could be offered, and early, mid, late stage buyer, and then they get what they need to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to be serving the same piece of content to person who is at a different stage in the customer cycle, in the customer journey. But the whole idea is that you don't have to create content from scratch. If you already have enough content, a lot can happen from there. A lot can be repurposed and then can be utilized for your entire customer journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm a big fan of this concept too. And, this podcasting is my favorite way of doing the long form interview. And we get some juice out of this thing, but you just, I think we maybe do 6 things, but then, which is probably why I guessed like 6 or 9. And then, your 30 is very impressive. And then it's like, wow, that's amazing. There's so much to do. There's so much that can be done from it.
So much to do. Yeah.
Man, maybe the next book comes from all this content getting repurposed too.
Definitely. And I think those people who have already got a platform, like, you've got a podcast, you've already got a channel, some YouTube, certainly books should be coming out of it. Because why not? You've already got that content. It could be a roundup of, you've already interviewed a lot of guests with expertise in different areas. You could put it all together in some sort of context, which would be amazing for your own brand. And you don't have to put in too much effort into it because the contents are already there. All you've got to do is probably get an editor to, edit it in the right format for the book. And there you go, And books are great authority builders. People, they're just good authority builders. That's what it is, It's like your business card. It's your new business card.
It is. Because they're hard and they're terrible to create.
True.
So if you've done it, then you're like, wow, this person's done this thing. And I think people kind of get a sense that, this is probably kind of hard. And we've both written books, and it's like, it's not nearly as glamorous, as fun as you'd think it would be. By the end, you usually hate the topic, and you hate, like, I don't want to look at these words ever again. But time settles it down. You're like, oh, I'm really happy with this. But it's a tough process. But it doesn't have to be so tough. You don't have to write from scratch. If you're repurposing the heck out of everything.
Exactly. And if you have the right process in place, it shouldn't be that difficult. Of course, when we're not writing a fiction novel, right? So that's a totally different, for nonfiction and business arena, if you've already got some channel through which you reach to your audience, then you probably are sitting on a lot of content which can be repurposed into, a lot more many things, be it book or audiobook or anything else.
Yeah. People keep asking me to do an Audible book of my book. And you just figure out the right settings on the microphones and everything. Maybe give it a shot. I don't know though. If hearing me talk for 12 hours excitedly about my book, and then this happened. It's not fiction. So it's like, let me tell you about marketing automation.
Well, you never know. If people are asking for it, then it says something.
Well, I understand because like me, I like listening to books. So we all have our own thing that we like consuming, to your point. Repurpose and then serve people what they want. Where does this go? Do you see anything coming around the bend in the future, as buyers change and as content, hopefully more people do what you're talking about, so they actually get useful content out there that's consumed, that number drops, so it's not 80% of content being wasted. Where does this go? Where do you see content going in the future?
I think I see it being more experiential. So as we see technology evolving more and we see more AI and VR is still very, very augmented reality. I see a lot of augmented reality content coming, although it's been there in the ether for at least a good few years, but it still hasn't happened. I do believe in the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot more of augmented reality content. Again, it's just about we as technology evolves, our content has to evolve with it. And it's one of those things, if we have to embrace. If we don't, it's in social media world, it's pretty much like do or die kind of thing. It moves very fast. But the whole idea is that, if you already have a medium, even in future 5 years time, if you can use the same content to produce a different experience, AR experience, a different experience, but it won't be like starting from scratch.
Exactly. Experience. I'm really excited about that kind of stuff. Do you want to hear a secret?
Yeah.
I'm going to do like a Twitch channel for marketing.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Have you been on it before? Like
I've watched people on it before, right? Yeah. But you have nobody on there doing marketing because it's all about watching games and watching people crochet.
It's all about watching games, yeah.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't that be cool if all of these podcast interviews were on it? Like, just, I don't know. Maybe nothing,
you
but like it
stand out.
Like something, a different experience that might be kind of cool, So,
so what do you think you would be doing, like live automations for them as they watch you, or like?
Yeah, like I think we're recording this. It's not live, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Twitch is going on in the background. So
if
you wanted to see the podcast before that happens, while it's happening, or we do a lot of webinars, and that's just another way of repurposing those and getting them in a different channel. I really like the idea that it gives you points and it's kind of fun and silly, and I don't know, something about it. It calls to me like more engaging than webinar,
Definitely more engaging than webinar. Yeah. But if you're up for it, you should definitely give it a go, because a lot of people don't start something because they're hesitant, right? But with you, that's not the case. You want to try it. You've picked out a channel that you think might be a very good idea, and you want to experiment with it. You should go for it.
Like because it's like bizarre, it makes no sense. But you know what? Maybe at like 11 o'clock at night, I'll play Minecraft just so everyone else is like, okay, good, he's back on games now. But I could see like doing part odd and just, I don't know. It just seems like one of those like intersections that should occur if it doesn't already.
Are there any business Twitchers?
No, there aren't.
No, none. So they're all gamers.
Yeah, gamers, but also like people crocheting, artists, painting.
Okay. So art and craft.
Yeah, so not just games, but like, or just people hanging out, playing music, or some people are singing. People like, if I start singing, then people need to block my channel. But people just being themselves on camera. And one of my favorite things to do on there, because every now and then I'll like hop on there and I'll go and I'll find a channel with nobody watching. Right. Somebody's on the broadcast. Nobody. I'll go and I'll be like the one person, and I'll say nice things to them, encourage them. Yeah. But like, but what's also interesting is there's people that have 1,000 people online watching them play Call of Duty, or 5,000, like a lot of people, and they somehow manage their tribe that way. And people are coming, they're like, hey, Cool Bear 27, good to see you, grandma, and you're like, wow, they manage this crowd way better than your average B2B marketing webinar idiots. We all try, but it's like, welcome to our webinar. This is our Q&A. And you're like, ugh, gross. But what if you did it like Twitch?
We could definitely be more fun, more entertaining, and more casual, because you're right. The webinars and they're just too formal in their structure. Too formal, and of course, it's very hard to then get people to interact when it feels too businessy or corporate-y. So definitely something different would be, something definitely to try.
Different. Well, I'll have to invite you. Maybe you could be like my one watcher. You can come hang out.
Yeah.
We'll do another interview like this, and we'll do it on.
Yeah.